Everybody, good morning. Here I am with my 4th of July hamburger shirt on. Good to see you. Don't miss the Independence Day sale on TradingView.com if you want to get in on this. Look at this right here. We got the heck of a deal. Heck of a deal. Got 2.5 days left to join in, upgrade. Basically, they're pushing the premium plan or the ultimate plan. When you really look at it, I mean, a penny more and 2 pennies more get you a premium plan, and 2 pennies more get you the ultimate plan. So these are the two deals right here. These two right here. Do you want premium or do you want ultimate? I'm in the premium plan right now. It's kind of what I have to do what I do. And you got 2 days left. Right there. Jumping back over. Looking at look at this. This is interesting right here. This is the monthly performance of crypto. 3% on Bitcoin. -2%. My red doesn't even show up there. -2% on Ethereum. Solana. Down right there. They kind of changed the way this whole thing worked, and it doesn't only pull up I can't turn off these anymore. So we can't only look at the gainers. It's kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt to me. Apparently I just started Microsoft Copilot. Cool. Love that. Not. All right. So that's the monthly performance. Look at the week. Things are a little more optimistic and green. Looking at the year-to-date performance, since we're 6 months in. Big loser here. Big gainer. I mean, fair gainer. I wouldn't say big gainer. Fair gainer here. Solana down. XRP up a little bit. We've got some other coins in here with big numbers, but there's your horse right there. Bitcoin. Yeah, this is similar to looking at the sectors we did earlier in the week. What sectors are performing? Well, which cryptos are performing? Right there you go. Bitcoin. Yeah, I like my shirt. I got it for my birthday last week, so happy birthday to me. It was last week. All right, moving on. Moving on. I guess before we talk crypto trades, anything like that, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. Just because I predict them doesn't mean it's gonna come true, but I've been pretty bang on Bitcoin for a number of years now. I have to say, it's been pretty uncanny how when you take all the emotion out of regular stocks, I guess maybe it's all emotion. I don't know. The human element of what I do, the only thing you don't have earnings, you don't have news, you don't have really anything else in Bitcoin except herd mentality of you and me and all the rest of us on this planet. So this presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling crypto, stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, treasuries. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. It's not what I do, not what I'm playing on YouTube. Today is the 4th of July, 2025. The U.S. is basically on holiday, bank holiday, federal holiday, fireworks, parades. The parades kicked off. The first parade in the country kicked off at 12:01 last night in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and they were talking about it on the news. So it's an actual holiday. Somebody I used to trade with, they were like, "It's not a holiday unless there's parades and everybody." Parades and celebrations and cookouts and so I think it's funny, it's that makes Veterans Day a parade, even though Veterans Day usually has a parade here, but I guess not so much celebrations, but it's funny. I always think about that. Any holiday, it's like Are there parades and celebrations, or is it just kind of like lip service? So a lot of our holidays are just kind of lip service. So next week, not really a banger earnings wise. I put that in Discord last evening. Let's see if I jump over, pull that up. Just kind of giving you, broad what to expect while expecting. Right there. Don't have a ton of stuff. We got Delta. I've got some short puts on that one. Some WD-40 as, and not super great. Like not a lot of stuff coming up. But the week after that is where things really get moving in a big way. So this is what's coming up next week, and things should get more spicy as we really ramp into earnings season there on the, I guess, the second full week. This is the first partial week of July, first full week of July. Second full week is where earnings really ramp up, and then we kind of hit the peak right down here, end of July into August. So earnings will start kind of controlling the narrative, I guess you might say, on the markets. And we do have another FOMC meeting coming up sometime down in here. Every 6 weeks. I think it's right here, maybe. Yeah, right there. Right at the end of the month, right during the middle of earnings. Yeah, peak earnings. So right, that should be interesting right there. All right, everybody's here for crypto. So let's see what we got crypto-wise. Like I said, year-to-date performance, Bitcoin, not too shabby. Looking at I like this site right here, CoinMarketCap. We've got 18 million cryptos. Now, if you're relatively new to crypto, probably not if you're here, but if you're relatively new to this crypto game, don't really have much exposure, haven't really spent much time looking at it, I'm not sure there's going to be an altcoin season this year because of the dilution of cryptos. Right? Last cycle, Bitcoin crypto kind of runs in these 4-year cycles. It's kind of based around the halving event. That's where the payout rate for mining Bitcoin gets cut in half. We call it the halving event. It's basically on a 4-year cycle, and it's going to continue. Everybody asks me what happens at the end of the mining cycle. Well, that's probably going to happen like 150 years from now. We should all be so lucky as to still be here and see the end of that. AI overlords might get rid of us all before then. So we've got this dilution that's taken place. That's what I call it, dilution. 18.1 million cryptos. What the heck do we use? I wasn't even sure what we used a few thousand cryptos for. I'm certainly not sure what we're going to use 18 million cryptos for. I don't think I could even fathom 18 million. And we add about 100,000 more cryptos every day. So it's hard to even, you can't even look at all the new cryptos every day. That much dilution, it may nix an altcoin season right here. We may not even have that this cycle because of so much dilution. And the main culprit, at least the explosion of coins, I feel like, was due to Solana creating a very easy path to create layer 2 coins. Very cheap and easy path, and that led to an explosion of coins. And just an absolute explosion. Ethereum kind of set the path. There were a lot of layer 2 stuff built on Ethereum, and then Solana came along and was like, we can do that cheaper and easier, and that's what they kind of did here. And well, it created like a dilution of interest. Now, what do you need for an explosion of altcoin value? You need people focusing on a few coins to pump those coins higher. But if you have 18 million coins, how do you get anybody to focus on anything? That's a lot of noise It makes it very difficult to get rid of the chaff and focus on the few that might perform. So if you're focused on coins that aren't sitting here in the top 10, maybe you could extend that to the top 100, but the top 10, there's a giant drop off in value here. Look at this market cap value right there. Market cap. We look down here. The top, in fact, there's a giant drop off right here at number 7. That's the stablecoin Circle we've been talking about recently. Circle runs USDC, 62 billion, and that drops in half right there. Then we have 24 billion, we have 20 billion, then we drop almost in half again, down to Hyperliquid, SUI, Bitcoin Cash, which is a fork of Bitcoin. So we're seeing this, erosion, quick erosion. Now, you roll on down here, a lot of the top 100 has about $1 billion in it, at least. We get down here to number 80 and we start dropping out of the, now we're down to about $750 million, around number 80. These are based kind of on market cap, and we get down to $500 million down here at number 100. That's not great as far as if you're looking for a lot of value. Now, similar to the stock market, things that have lower market cap have a lot of opportunity to get more value into them. But, another whole nother ball of wax here is you look at how many coins are actually on the market for that value. Bitcoin, we've got 95% of all the Bitcoin on the market. And we've got companies buying it up like crazy. Then we've got other companies that are starting to buy up Ethereum. Or at least they're thinking they're going to build these treasuries out of Ethereum. But there's no limit to Ethereum. Ethereum can just make more. Max supply is unlimited. Infinity. What other currency, we could debate all day whether it's a currency or not, cryptocurrency. What other currency do we know of that is unlimited? Pretty much all the fiat, right? And what happens when we make more fiat? The value of your dollar goes down, the value of your euro goes down, the value of your Great British Pound goes down, the value of your yen goes down. So the value of Ethereum, as they make more, goes down. That's not exactly good if you're trying to do that treasury thing, all right? It's not the rarity, as you might say. What makes gold valuable? The fact that it costs a ton of money to go hunt more gold, so it makes it rare. Bitcoin, rare. Everybody talks to me, and they're like, people that don't know, they're like, oh, well, they could just change the code. It's not happening. All right. All the participants in Bitcoin have to agree that we're changing the code. Last time that happened, or basically the last major time that happened, this was born right here. And this one still has a limit on the number of coins. Right there. So, probably not going to, and it's not about who holds more Bitcoin gets the vote or anything like that. It's about who participates in the network. If you want to participate in the network, you just go download the Bitcoin software and run it on a computer, and now you're participating in the network. You have a say-so in Bitcoin. It's kind of interesting that way, right? People are like, oh, well, the miners control it. Not really. It's not really the way it works. So this one's rare. And the thing about it is, if the price goes up, more people start mining Bitcoin, it actually gets more rare. It actually costs more money to mine Bitcoin the more people try to mine Bitcoin. that's not the way it works in gold. Gold, the more people mine gold, the more gold gets produced. It's not the way Bitcoin works. So Bitcoin, when it went through this last halving, it went through an interesting change where it is now actually more rare for Bitcoin to come on the market than it is for gold to come on the market. Bitcoin has become the only commodity. You can argue what a commodity is, whatever. Bitcoin is the only commodity commoditized, with a future where higher prices, this is like a long-term market adage, like hundreds of years old. The solution to higher prices on commodities is higher prices on commodities. That encourages more investment and more creation of those commodities. Oil being high creates people like, oh, that's investment opportunity to go hunt for and produce more oil. More production on oil causes prices to go down. So Bitcoin is the only commodity right now out there where more investment in trying to mine Bitcoin just makes it harder for everybody that's already mining Bitcoin. It's just a feature of the way that Bitcoin mining works. So that makes it rare. So if you're going to run your treasury, you want to do it on something that's rare, right? 95% is already out there. You only have 5% roughly of dilution that's going to take place. And as I already mentioned, that's going to take 150 years for that last Bitcoin to get mined out. That's quite a ways in the future. And we'll have our next halving event in 2028, where Bitcoin becomes even more rare. We're actually running ahead right now. Every 2 weeks, the difficulty gets adjusted for mining Bitcoin. So you have if you pump a bunch of new investment into mining Bitcoin, you have about 2 weeks advantage, and then the difficulty ramps up. It's like, yeah, you could play with this and turn on mining and off mining every 2 weeks. But in general, that's not really the way. It's going to be difficult to make money doing that. So we've got, when you look at the halving events, roughly April 13th, 2028. We've got about 2 years, 284 days. We've got 146,000 blocks to mine before we get there. The new Bitcoin subsidy after that, currently we're putting out 3 Bitcoins per block when we mine. It'll drop down to 1.5 Bitcoins per block to mine. So that's, getting more rare. And it'll be even more rare than it is today after that next halving. It's an interesting dynamic. We've never had anything in the history of humans that was more rare than gold. Not really. At least not used on a wide scale. You can say platinum, palladium, uranium, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know very many people that, walk around with uranium. So the argument, you can argue all sorts of things. We've not really had anything that was as rare as gold until now. Now look at this chart right here. I've got a lot of stuff drawn. I've talked about it quite a bit. Yesterday, we went on this push out. Today, back testing. If we can hold this breakout today, this thing could get very sparky. Very sparky. We saw a lot of the crypto miners responding positively the day before yesterday on this big candle over here. Wednesday. Thursday, tried to get some continuation. Today, taking it back a little bit while the U.S. markets are closed. But if we hold this breakout and actually move higher, we're going to be in the 115, 120,000 area. That's been a magic area I've talked about for a while. That's where all these treasury companies, all the value becomes pretty explosive for miners and Bitcoin treasury companies when we get into this zone right here. Now, based on the big long-term picture, these 4-year cycles I've talked about over and over, the ones I was mentioning, based on that stuff, I have a belief that we're going to go to at least a 1272 extension of the pullback we did on this last bit here on an exponential scale. Actually, 1618, excuse me. A 1618 extension. That puts us to 175. Every halving event we've done in the past, we have hit a 1618 extension of the pullback. I think we'll get in the vicinity of that. We can go all the way back here. Let's turn off the Apollo since it doesn't really apply here. Go all the way back to the beginning. When we do a pullback, we've got an extension. That one, 272. The first one back there. Next halving event, nice big fat pullback. High to low. Got our next extension, 1272 or 2.272. Excuse me, 2.272. Getting too excited here. This one back here in 2020. $1618. Didn't make it to the 272. Some say we truncated off right here instead of reaching up and getting that 272. A lot of maybe that was because of altcoins. I don't know. We missed on that one, but still hit the 1618. That's been hit every single time. Maybe we miss this time. I mean, maybe we don't get the 1618. I don't expect to get the 2.272. I think if we get up in here, it's time to protect your profit. 150, 170. If you've been riding Bitcoin, it's probably time to think about booking it. It's possible we rally on up that 272. Possible, not very likely. All right, think about our statistics here. We were 75% likely to hit that one. 70% likely to hit that one. We've already hit it. We've already got there. Already got that 104. We dropped down to 35% likely, just based on this pullback pattern. Dropped down to 35% likely to hit here, but Bitcoin's been known for that exuberance right there. This is just looking at tens of thousands of instances of this pullback chart. The current price structure that we did right here does support popping up in here. So there you go. There you go. As far as Ethereum goes, it's a bit more bearish. We're not sitting at or even near breakout all-time high levels. We made a high right back here during that altcoin season when Bitcoin fell short. And then we went on this big correction. And then in September of 2022, they made a change to the network. Instead of being proof of work like Bitcoin, they moved to a system called proof of stake, where you can just hold Ethereum and validate transactions. They did that to try to reduce the cost. Well, guess what? That also kneecapped the value. Right? They wanted to reduce the cost of participating in Ethereum network because the miner charge in Ethereum was high. It's just like there is you pay to get a transaction approved over here on Bitcoin. Right here, median fee, 46 cents per virtual byte. You pay to get your transaction included on the Bitcoin network. You pay in Bitcoin. The total fees collected for that whole block was about 0.049 Bitcoin. That's the miner fee. That was the total fees collected for authenticating that block of transactions. Now, the subsidy was that 3.1, 3 point whatever it is, Bitcoins. So you add in the 3 Bitcoin subsidy to the fees, and that's the total you get right there for mining a block of Bitcoin. Now, Ethereum used to work that way. You used to pay Ethereum to get your transaction included on the Ethereum transaction, in the next block of Ethereum. Right here, they made a change. You still pay Ethereum, but miners aren't, they kind of capped the fee, made it more stable is what they thought. But at the same time, they greatly reduced the participation in the network. And now we're not breaking out. We made lower high. We set up a potential bearish downside on Ethereum because it discouraged people from using Ethereum. It's funny how it's unintended consequences of changing to proof of stake. And you can say, well, Solana, proof of stake, it's always been proof of stake, looks a lot better. But in the same token, this might actually be bearish also. Might actually break to the downside. It doesn't have to go up. This could break down. Very cautious here. This little pattern is full of ambiguity right here. Talk about that all the time. When we get one of these, we move down, we moved up, we held the 618, we moved down, we held a 618, moved up again, held a 618. It's like, now we're starting to be in one of those watermelon seed squeeze triangles. We fill this on out, then pop. It may be the final pop, and then we rally down. We're running out of time here. The 4-year cycle is nearing the end. We're going to have another crypto winter. We're going to do it. Lots of people have been hyped up on XRP too. Oh, it got rid of all its legal issues, this, that, and the other. We actually made the extension here. That could have been it, right? 75% likely. And then we've just gone into this not bullish consolidation right here. That thing could break back down. Could do it. Well, look at the price action over here. Look at the way that pulled back, shot up, got to that extension, and then that was it. Like, that could be what happens right here. Just more drawn out. Avalanche, which the FedNow program, the digital dollar program, was being built on Avalanche. First move down, retrace. This thing's setting up for a break lower. Not super strong. Now, several people have, like, how do you make money on Tether and USDC? You can hold them. They pay out pretty hefty interest rates for holding. You can invest in the companies behind them. Well, you can invest in Circle. But Circle's chart looks a lot like the bubble pattern. This looks like it's about to come back down in a pretty violent way. Between Circle and Tether, they own about 85% of the stablecoin market. People are like, well, stablecoins, basically, they're trying to peg their coin's value to $1, to a US dollar. Sometimes we've, in the history of these two coins, we've seen decoupling where they lost their peg to the dollar. Usually that's every instance so far that's been brief, only a matter of days. To give people an opportunity to buy in and profit, cash back out when it got repegged. I think they've become more and more stable. They hold, Tether in particular buys big chunks of Bitcoin and US dollar treasuries. They make the interest off of that, and it's a lot of money. Now, one of the interesting aspects of this is these stable coins create further money supply expansion. It's like they should, if you go read their prospectuses and whatever they put on their website, it should be redeemable 1-for-1 for US dollars. But because of the way they manage these things, they actually have more money than they do in the coins because of the interest and the investment in Bitcoin and the expansion there. It creates an interesting situation right there. That allows them to actually create more of these than they have. You can actually put more of them out there because you've actually expanded your money supply with the interest and the investments in things like Bitcoin. So it artificially increases the money supply, which when you increase the money supply, that actually pushes down the value of the US dollar. It's an interesting dynamic that's playing out where we have inflation that's not controlled by a central bank. It's another layer of inflation, another inflationary force. This is hamburgers. You may have received one that's palm trees or something, but this is hamburgers. Hamburgers and American flags and stars. So, very similar to my paper airplane shirt that I have, that I wear occasionally. So it's interesting right here. The crypto market is interesting to me. I find it fascinating because it's all driven by human emotion. And this one right here looks like it could be set for an outperformance. Like this is set up a lot like we saw a lot of the coins set up in 2020. This is a pattern we've seen. Now, maybe it played out over here and this is just kind of the top, but we don't have that double top pattern in place yet. This looks like it wants to come on up. There's potential there. I have about 150 million of these, and that's not a lot of money, but it's like $1,000 or something like that. Kind of break even on it. Another one that's I find interesting has the measured bounce pattern. It's been holding it. has a 5 up, has a 3 down, has this potential. I don't think it's going to go higher high. It has a potential to do like a 3 to 5x right up in this area. That wouldn't put it higher high. But it does have this setup in place. Now, crypto's one of those things. Like, if you're going to put any money in this or any other crypto up here, you put any of them, make sure it's money, make sure it's dollars that you would be willing to take out back, put it in your fire pit, and light it on fire. Because that might be exactly, it might just go up in smoke right there. And this break down lower and be worth nothing. So ones I'm interested in, I like this pattern right there. I like the fact we're holding support really well. It did push lower than I wanted to see, but that's been a lot of stocks out there. A lot of our stocks in the stock market have done that, and then they go on to rip up to targets. This one has that same kind of pattern potential in here. A little bit different, though, because it's nested. We did hold that measured bounce potential right there. It's a pattern I follow. Still, we're seeing it right here. This would push it right up into this zone right here. Right in the target, right where I've got all those alerts. It's an interesting dynamic. You know, other coins, there's not much great opportunity in here. The only other one that I find very fascinating is the only truly anonymous coin. You may be like, well, I thought crypto transactions, crypto was created. At first, they didn't know how to track transactions, but then they figured it out. And now they can kind of figure out who transactions are just by putting it all together across all the different ways they track it. But there is a coin in here that keeps the wallet secret, keeps the transaction secret, that keeps kind of everything secret. And that is not supported on most brokerage. Most exchanges won't let you just go, can't just go to Coinbase and get this one. XMR is one of those truly anonymous cryptos. It's probably the biggest one that I know of. There are people trying like crazy to figure out how they can break the encrypted transaction list to be able to track this. This coin is one of the only truly anonymous coins. How much you hold is anonymous. Who you transact with is anonymous. It's all encrypted. It's anonymous by encryption. If the encryption mechanism ever gets defeated, then it becomes not so anonymous. But right now, if you transacted with the same person 3 times, there's no way for anybody to be able to tell that in the Monero network. Creates an interesting situation. But max supply is unlimited. Total supply and circulating supply. So I can just increase it. This has actually been an interesting one because the payout rate for mining this has actually been a lot higher recently. I do participate in mining. I get paid in Bitcoin to lend my machines to other people. So you can go to these exchanges right here, Monero Markets. You can go to eToro, KuCoin, Bitfinex, MEXC, XT, Kraken, KuCoin, Bitfinex. Notice we absent Binance, Bitcoin, Coinbase, Crypto.com, noticeably missing out of here. Most of the US exchanges. You can go to DeFi, pick some of these up. You know, US Tether, USDC, US Tether. Those are ways you can swap into this. Yeah, StakeCube. I've used that exchange some. Then we go on down. You look at who controls it. Like, that's another interesting thing, is who controls some of these. And there were 7 developers initially involved in creating Monero, 5 of whom remained anonymous. And there were rumors that XMR was created by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's interesting, right? And what makes it private? It's because it's all encrypted. And it hasn't been broken yet. So if you're trying to use it for an anonymous transaction, there you go. But these ones, you know, this one definitely trackable. Lots of these trackable. You can follow the money. Monero, much more difficult to follow the money. Now, one handy feature of CoinMarketCap, you can look at the last 7 days on the charts, and very quickly you can compare a lot of charts. Most of these look kind of the same. Right? It's kind of like we talk about the stock market floats most boats. The crypto market kind of takes most boats with it. Now, notably different, stable coins, pretty flat, always pretty flat. You see the slight decoupling, but they stay pretty flat. Interesting, Tron here, running a little different, at least for the last 7 days. One reason I use tradingview.com is because I can just pop on here and look up just about any crypto I want. Checking out Tron. Well, it's been on a heck of a rip. We did spike that 1618 back here. Pulled back. And now we're coming into that resistance. If we break through here, could see some upside. If we don't, that's probably the beginning of flushing on lower. So you got to be careful. This is not one I usually follow very closely. It's not been very interesting to me. Now, in my Crypto Power Plays product, I do follow all these charts that are listed on here. This is my Crypto Power Plays list. It's kind of interesting. Now, one interesting bit, I've talked about how bearish that Ethereum might be. Let's talk about something really quickly. The total market cap of crypto. Now, Bitcoin is hanging out right up in here, trying to break out. We've actually pushed through those highs. We were hanging out right in here, trying to break out through all-time highs. Go look at the Bitcoin chart. That's what we got. We're hanging out. We're above these over here, hanging out, trying to push through. These are very flat. We'll look at total market cap of crypto. That's not quite the chart we have. It's an interesting difference here. This is taking the value of crypto by the number of coins and kind of putting it out here. So we've seen something is dragging the total market cap of crypto down. This not up here above that. Total 2 takes out Bitcoin, and now we see a much larger pull down. So taking out Bitcoin, that is higher. Now we're starting to see the problem here. This is being dragged down by Ethereum. Now, if we take out Ethereum and look at total 3, it starts to come back up a little bit. Starts to. It's almost the same. Because a lot of the altcoins ride with Ethereum. Funny enough. Now, an interesting tidbit here. If this total 2 were to push up here, look at something like $1.8 trillion, possibly 1.96. Let's just roll with 1.8. $1.8 trillion. Now, jump it down to total 3. If this one pushes out, you'd be looking at 1.25 trillion. So what is the difference between these two? That's the value of Ethereum. So an interesting little bit of math. If both charts pushed out 1.8 minus 1.25, that leaves us about 55 billion or $550 billion, 0.55 trillion. Go look over here. Ethereum currently 300 billion. And if we went up to the 0.55 billion, 550 billion minus, that leaves about 250 billion upside potential on Ethereum if those charts worked out. This is just like extrapolating even further than just the charts. So if we took that and we actually increased the price by, 250 divided by 300, we had 83% upside. We look at 2527 times 1.83. It gets us roughly 46.24. Come back over. Where does that put us on this chart? Oh, interesting. Right up back near the all-time high. Right in there. The potential to outperform just a little bit. I find that fascinating to do alternate calculations and see that, well, it's not unreasonable to expect a rally back up in here. And if you didn't want to go buy some sort of crypto, you could take risk with a 2x leverage ticker in the regular stock market. Right here. If you think this is going to perform. So an 80, this is 2x leverage on Ethereum. So 83% upside potential on a 2x leverage. We're looking at 150 to 160%. Go off of that. So we're looking at a move from here to roughly here. Roughly $150 per share. But that's not all-time highs. We did have a reverse split in here. It says a leverage ticker. Substantial risk of loss on a leverage. Be careful. But that's a way to play if you thought that Ethereum might catch back up. I do hold some of this in a couple accounts. I did hold it through the split, and I am down. It's not a big position. Like I said, any money you put in crypto, even in something like this, make sure it's $1 that you would be willing to take out back, put it in a fire pit, and light it on fire, because it may go up in smoke, and this may plummet down and reverse split again. All right. Now, this one looking pretty spicy. I've been a big proponent of Mara for a long time. Popping over to this chart, here's why. Starting back here in 2020, rally up, correction down, measured bounce. Off that low, rally up, pull back, measured bounce. Nested measured bounces can lead to amazing upside performance. Triple digits, I'm not sure I would expect much more than 100. Be very, very careful. It may just do a corrective bounce here and turn down into a longer correction. Look at the bigger history of Mara. It's not been the rosiest picture of a stock. This could just be a bubble. Could just be chopping at the bubble. Could break down and come all the way back down to the bottom of the bubble. It's possible it's just a bubble pattern playing out again. Now, what about MSTR? Looks like it's banging. Look at that chart. Look at this over here. Bubble pattern, collapse.com. Bubble pattern, collapse. Last crypto cycle. Bubble pattern, what do you expect to happen? Probably going to come back down again. Probably going to do it again. Now, looking at the smaller picture pattern that we've got cooked in here. Did a roadmap bounce. That leaves potential for these targets right up here, 600. Pushing through that 1618 or that 618 level right there with potential to rally on up here. If things got particularly spicy, maybe up to 900 to 1,000. A return to the roadmap line, not out of the question. I am long MSTX. Been selling calls. I think my break-evens are right there at 49. Slightly under 39. Other ones that have been taking advantage of crypto right here. Hood. They added tokenized company exposure to things that weren't public, like OpenAI. There's been some debate whether you actually own anything if you buy those tokens. This one did roadmap bounce in 109, next upside target right there. BTBT. This one got a few thousand shares that I bought back here at $1.75. I think I bought them right here on that low. This completed a nice 5 up, retraced, held a low in the vicinity right there, came over, revisited, double bottomed. Could just be one big correction. First move up, retrace, held a higher low, measured bounce, potential to push back up. Looking at the bigger picture, that was the ultimate low. Move up, retrace, measured bounce, move up, retrace, measured bounce. Bigger picture potential. Risking just to return to highs. Right there around a 19 to 30. It's a big upside potential with a $3 stock. Potential, 8 to 10x right now. From down here, that was like a 30x potential. 20 to 30x potential. I've just been sitting on a few thousand shares of that. Willing to watch it burn down. PLTR is not crypto related, so it's not what we're talking about. Other things SBET, this company trying to do the Ethereum, and this taking the idea of a Bitcoin treasury like MicroStrategy and applying it to Ethereum, buying hundreds of millions of dollars of Ethereum, but it has that bubble pattern and might come back down. Other companies in here, CEP, trying to do that Bitcoin treasury thing, looking a lot like a bubble pattern. Might pull it back down. Oops, SMLR. Smelser Scientific, also trying to do the Bitcoin treasury thing. That's kind of bearish looking price action. I'll be very careful here. We break back below the bottom of that, going to take it back down. Mora kind of sort of trying to do the Bitcoin treasury thing, but not exactly. We were thinking that GameStop was going to do the Bitcoin treasury thing, but then they took a big diversion. They were convincing everybody they were going to, and then they did something different. Now they're back, potentially going to break back out of the bubble pattern here. Bubble pattern over here. Shot up again, consolidating. That leaves the downside potential. Very dangerous on that chart. Could be just a prolonged chop before we take it right back down to the bottom. Despite them having billions of dollars sit on the sideline there. Yeah, I mean, it's a crypto special, Charlie. So everybody's talking Bitcoin. We're nearing the end of the cycle. It's probably got one more little push higher. Then we're going to be in the end of the cycle. Going to go into crypto winter. It's going to pull back, probably back down 70-80% correction after we top out. We could potentially top as low as 120. 120, 130. I kind of expecting 150 to 170. That's that fib line resistance right there. Then we're going to come back down into this $30,000 to $40,000 area. So I plan to liquidate pretty much everything. Probably only hold the crypto I have zero cost in. We're going to pull back. Got to be down here. 26, 27. Probably make a bottom. This date was important right here that I went over. It's halving date. Usually we bottom about 18 months ahead of that date. Almost basically every halving cycle, give or take a few months, we've bottomed roughly 18 months ahead of that right there. So when you run back over, look at Bitcoin again. Pull up the all-time history. Excuse me. All right, on the all-time history. Pull it up, look at it. This bottom right here. We bottomed in November 22. We did the halving in April 24. Roughly 12 months in here, a few months here, a few months here. It was like not quite 18. Pretty darn close. And we start the rally at that bottom point. Come up into halving, and then we do the halving, post-halving run. So looking at that, looking at the projected date over here. Again, April. This will probably shift back into March, more than likely. We tend to run ahead on mining More and more people tend to mine. We tend to run ahead. But it does adjust every 2 weeks. So we look at this, we jump out in time. April. Let's just go at the end of, beginning of April, basically. And we run that same, same number of bars back. Roughly right in there might be the bottom. So we were looking for a bottom somewhere in this vicinity after we pop up here. Probably got to pull back somewhere in this vicinity. Right back in here. So if you were super bullish on Bitcoin, thinking we're going to 1 million, probably not this cycle. Probably get a pullback. Probably bottom in here. Probably go on the next rally. Could even shoot us up into this area. Might go higher. I think we're going to be in a longer term correction. This will probably come back down, same vicinity on that next cycle. And then we set up a bigger potential upside. I think this next cycle underperforms. I think the next cycle we only rally to maybe 250,000. Then we pull it back about the same point. And then we set up for an explosive potential run to like 1 million. I'll probably go a little faster. Should be interesting. Somewhere around, see that 28, 29. Should be a top somewhere around here. Another pullback, probably pretty violent, into 30. Right about there. And then 32 should be the next halving after that. And 33. Probably the top, somewhere around the summer. Maybe on up in here. That should be the next couple cycles right there. So be careful. That's kind of how I'm expecting it to unfold for the next almost decade. Right there. And of course, I revised the right to update this prediction as we move forward and present it with new price action. But that's kind of the path I expect us to take right there. And this may underperform due to market forces like Greater Depression type stuff. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Don't have a crystal ball, just have charts and predictions. So hope this was helpful. Hope you found it interesting. Happy 4th of July. Don't blow your heads off. I'll have another opportunity for people to join crypto coming up at 1 o'clock. If you want to come hang out with me, it'll be on Zoom. I'll post the link in Telegram and Discord. I don't think anybody gave me a short link for that. I can take a look really quickly. Where is my short link document? Cool. I don't even see it. Nope. 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 And nope. And nope. Cool. I love this. It's like, oh, I'll give you a link. Nope. And nope again. Yeah, I don't have a. I don't know. Nope, nope, and nope. Cool. Yeah, I don't know where my link document went, but not up. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you later. Be careful out there. See you on Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9:15. We'll hunt for actual opportunities in the market. I did get put on my 50K challenge account. I got out of DJT and I got out of MRK last night. So out of this one, out of this one. So I'll be looking for new opportunities. Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, today. I'll be presenting a little bit of other crypto stuff and then going home to hang out with the family. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again later.